Wait, something was said about you when your name entered a conversation you were never meant to hear. And no, it was not casual. It was not ordinary. It was not forgotten the moment the words left their mouth. Because the person you love spoke about you with a depth they have been trying to hide, and the one listening could hear it immediately. There was a pause before they answered. A silence. A hesitation that revealed more than the words themselves. Because sometimes what exposes the heart is not what someone says, but how long they take before saying it. And when your person was asked about you, really asked about you, something shifted in them. Their voice changed. Their energy softened. Their usual guard cracked. They tried to act unaffected. They tried to sound composed. They tried to make it seem like you were simply another passing chapter. But the one listening saw through it instantly. Because when someone mentions a person who matters deeply, the soul reacts before the mind can control it. That is what happened. Your name reached their ears, and their entire presence transformed. Why? Because no matter how carefully they have tried to conceal it, you are not a small thought in their mind. You are not a fleeting memory. You are not just someone to them. You are the thought that returns when the room grows quiet. The name that appears in moments they cannot explain. The feeling they compare others to, and never find again. Listen closely, because this matters. The person they spoke to noticed something strange. They noticed how your person smiled without realizing it. They noticed how their tone carried warmth even while trying to remain neutral. They noticed how every sentence about you sounded unfinished, as if there was far more they wanted to confess but could not allow themselves to say. And then came the moment that changed everything. The one listening leaned in, and asked them directly. Do they still matter to you that much? That question struck deeper than expected. Because your person did not answer immediately. Think about that. If someone means nothing, the answer comes quickly. But when someone means everything, silence arrives first. And in that silence, their truth was exposed. Because they were not deciding what to feel. They were deciding how much of the truth they were willing to reveal. Stay with this moment. Because what they finally said next was not rehearsed. It was not polished. It slipped out from somewhere deeper than pride. They admitted that no matter how much time passes, something about you stays with them. Something about your energy, your presence, your connection, refuses to leave their spirit. Even when they distract themselves. Even when they act distant. Even when they pretend they have moved on. A part of them still turns back toward you in quiet moments. And the person listening understood immediately. This is not over. Not emotionally. Not energetically. Not in the story that still remains unfinished between you. But here is what makes this even more powerful. The conversation did not end there. Because after they admitted your impact, they were asked one final question. A question so direct, so piercing, that it forced them to confront what they have avoided for far too long. And the answer they gave, it revealed exactly how deeply you still live inside their heart. What they said next was more honest than they intended. And once you hear it, you will understand why everything is beginning to shift. Because sometimes one conversation, one unguarded moment, one truth spoken aloud, changes the future of two people forever. And what came next in that conversation was the part no one expected. But then the atmosphere changed. The person sitting across from them looked directly into their eyes, and asked the question they had been avoiding in every silent moment, every restless night, every unfinished thought. If they still mean that much to you, then why are you not with them? Everything froze. Not around them. Inside them. Because some questions do not require an answer, they require honesty. And for a brief moment, your person had nowhere to hide. No distractions. No pride. No carefully crafted distance. Only truth. They looked away first. That alone said more than words ever could. Because when someone cannot hold eye contact while speaking about the one they love, it is usually because the emotions have become too real to contain. And then, quietly, almost under their breath, they admitted it. They said the connection between you has never truly left them. Not for a single day. Not even during the times they acted cold. Not even during the silence. Not even during the moments they convinced others, and perhaps even themselves, that they were fine. They are not fine. Because some bonds do not fade with distance. They sharpen. Some people do not disappear when absent. They grow louder in memory. And somehow, mysteriously, your presence has done exactly that in their life. The more time has passed, the more they have realized what you actually meant. Let that sink in. Because often people understand value only after distance teaches them what absence feels like. And your absence has been teaching them. Slowly. Relentlessly. Deeply. The person listening to them could hear it in every word. Could hear the regret. Could hear the longing. Could hear the truth they have been carrying in silence. Then came a sentence so revealing it changed the entire conversation. They said, "I keep wondering if I let go of someone I was never supposed to lose." Read that again in your spirit. Because that is not casual reflection. That is realization. That is awakening. That is someone beginning to understand that what they felt with you may not come twice in this lifetime. And once that awareness arrives, a person is never the same again. Something opens inside them. Something urgent. Something impossible to ignore. They begin replaying memories. Re-examining choices. Questioning whether pride cost them something irreplaceable. And that is exactly where your person is now. At the edge of inner change. At the threshold of emotional truth. At the moment where the heart begins overpowering the fear that kept it silent. But wait. The most revealing part of the conversation came next. Because the person they were speaking to asked them one final thing. A question so bold it made your person completely still. They asked, "If you had one chance to tell them everything, would you?" And your person's answer. It did not come fast. Because the truth frightened them. Yet eventually, they nodded. Yes. Yes, they would. Because beneath all the hesitation, beneath all the confusion, beneath every excuse they have ever made, there is still something in them that wants you to know how they truly feel. Still something in them hoping the story is not over. Still something in them wondering if destiny allows second chances. And if this message is reaching you at the right moment. Perhaps that question is not theoretical anymore. Perhaps the silence is nearing its end. Perhaps the distance has done what it was meant to do. Not separate forever, but reveal what could no longer remain hidden. If this resonates with your heart, leave your thoughts below. Sometimes putting truth into words is the first step toward receiving more of it. And if this journey speaks to you, stay connected. Because what comes next may explain why they have been feeling pulled toward you more strongly than ever before. Because after that conversation ended, they did not walk away the same. Something had been stirred in them. Something undeniable. And what they did later that night proved that this was never just talk. Later that night, they could not distract themselves anymore. They tried. They reached for the usual routines. The usual noise. The usual ways of keeping their mind occupied. But none of it worked. Because once someone is forced to speak the truth about how they feel, pretending becomes almost impossible. And that conversation had awakened something in them. Something they had kept buried beneath pride, hesitation, fear of vulnerability. Your person went quiet after that. Not because they had nothing to feel, but because they were feeling too much. They replayed every memory of you. The moments they laughed with you. The moments they felt understood by you. The moments they almost said more than they were ready to admit. And then came the realization that hit them harder than expected. No one else has made them feel what you made them feel. Not in the same way. Not with the same depth. Not with the same unexplainable pull. That truth unsettled them. Because now they understand this was never ordinary attraction. Never simple curiosity. Never temporary fascination. What they feel for you has roots. Deep ones. The kind that stay alive even through distance. Even through silence. Even through separation that was supposed to end everything. And here is what matters most. They are beginning to realize that losing access to you is not the same as losing feelings for you. One can happen. The other never did. That is why your energy has remained in their thoughts. That is why random moments keep reminding them of you. That is why even after trying to move forward, something inside them keeps turning back. Because their heart has not released you. And perhaps, it never truly wanted to. But the night did not end with reflection alone. No. They made a decision. A quiet one. A private one. A decision no one else knows about yet. They decided they cannot keep pretending forever. They decided something has to change. Whether that means reaching out, revealing more, or finding a way to close the distance that has remained between you. They know the current silence cannot continue. Because some truths become heavier the longer they remain unspoken. And your person is reaching that point. The point where the pressure inside becomes greater than the fear outside. The point where emotion begins demanding action. The point where a person stops asking, "What if I get hurt?" and starts asking, "What if I lose this forever by doing nothing?" That shift changes everything. Because once someone begins fearing regret more than rejection, movement follows. Action follows. Truth follows. And if you have felt unusual energy lately, if your intuition has been restless, if something inside you keeps telling you that change is near, There may be a reason. Because hearts often sense movement before reality reveals it. You may not see the full picture yet, but something behind the scenes is already shifting. The conversation they had about you did not simply expose their feelings. It accelerated them. It forced them to face what they can no longer deny. You matter more than they ever admitted. You remained longer than they expected. And the thought of never telling you the truth is becoming unbearable. So prepare yourself. Not in fear. In awareness. Because when someone reaches the end of their emotional resistance, they often do something unexpected. Something brave. Something overdue. Something that changes the connection forever. And your person is getting closer to that moment than you realize. Because what they are planning next may be the very thing that proves their feelings were real all along. And now, the silence is no longer empty. It is charged. Because when someone reaches the point of emotional truth, their next move is rarely random. It is deliberate. Careful. Heavy with meaning. Your person has entered that stage now. The stage where every thought of you carries urgency. Where every memory no longer feels nostalgic, but unfinished. Where the heart begins whispering the same question again and again. What if it's not too late? That question has been echoing through them. In quiet rooms. In distracted moments. In the middle of ordinary days when your name suddenly returns to their mind without warning. And here is what they are starting to understand. The connection they felt with you was not something they can replace by simply moving on. Because real connection does not disappear on command. It lingers. It waits. It returns when least expected. And now it has returned stronger than before. That is why they have been mentally revisiting everything. The words left unsaid. The moments misunderstood. The distance that grew when neither of you fully explained what was happening inside. They are seeing it differently now. Not through pride. Not through fear. Through clarity. And clarity changes people. Because once someone sees what truly mattered, they cannot go back to pretending it didn't. Listen carefully. They are not just missing you. They are recognizing your value in a way they failed to before. That difference matters. Missing someone can be temporary. Recognizing someone's worth can alter the future. Because when admiration joins longing, action often follows. And lately, they have been imagining the moment they speak to you again. They have replayed it in their head more than once. What they would say. How they would begin. Whether you would still listen. That last question haunts them most. Would you still hear me, after everything? Because beneath all their feelings sits one quiet fear. That they waited too long. That the person they still care for may no longer be waiting in the same place emotionally. And yet, even with that fear, the desire to reach for you is growing. Stronger than hesitation. Stronger than ego. Stronger than the excuses they once used to stay silent. This is the turning point. The invisible moment before reality changes. The chapter before movement. The breath before the confession. So if life has felt strangely still lately, If your spirit has sensed that something is approaching. If part of you keeps looking at your phone for no reason at all. Trust that feeling. Because not all anticipation is imagined. Sometimes your intuition recognizes incoming change before your eyes can see it. And if you have stayed this far, then perhaps this message found you because your story is closer to shifting than you think. Leave a comment if this resonates with your heart. Sometimes naming what you feel makes room for what is coming. And if this kind of message speaks to you, stay connected, because some revelations arrive quietly before they arrive clearly. Because what your person is preparing to do next is not small. It is not casual. It is the kind of move someone makes when they finally understand what they stand to lose. And when that moment arrives, you will know. Because their next words to you will carry everything they were too afraid to say before. And when that moment finally arrives, you will feel it before you fully understand it. Because truth carries a different energy. It does not arrive like ordinary conversation. It arrives with weight, with presence, with the unmistakable feeling that something long delayed is finally breaking through. That is the energy surrounding your person now. They are no longer simply thinking about you. They are building courage. Quietly. Privately. One inner battle at a time. Because reaching out is no longer just an idea to them. It has become necessary. Not because someone told them to. Not because they are lonely. Not because they suddenly have nothing else to do. But because their heart has reached the point where silence hurts more than vulnerability. That is a rare turning point in any connection. And when someone reaches it, they stop protecting their image and start protecting what matters. You. The bond. The possibility that still lives between you. They have begun imagining the consequences of doing nothing. What if they remain silent? And watch life move forward without ever knowing what could have been? What if they let fear make the decision for them? What if the greatest connection they ever felt becomes nothing more than a memory they revisit in regret? Those questions have changed them. Because regret has a way of waking people up faster than comfort ever could. And your person is waking up. Not slowly anymore. Quickly. Deeply. Irreversibly. That is why the version of them preparing to approach you next will not be the same version that once hesitated. They have learned through distance. They have matured through reflection. They have discovered that some people enter your life not to be forgotten, but to transform you. And you have transformed them. Whether they admitted it before or not. You altered the way they think. The way they feel. The way they define connection itself. No one else has matched what you awakened in them. No one else has carried your impact. And now they know it. That awareness is reshaping their choices. So if something inside you has felt like the air is changing, if your spirit has sensed movement before visible proof, if your heart has whispered that this chapter is not finished, there may be truth in that feeling. Because behind the scenes, a decision is forming. A message may be drafted and erased. A call may be considered, postponed, then considered again. A plan may already be taking shape in ways you cannot yet see. This is not random emotion anymore. This is intention growing. And intention, when fed by genuine feeling, always seeks expression eventually. So remain open. Remain observant. Remain ready for the unexpected. Because the person who once struggled to reveal their heart is approaching the moment where hiding it becomes impossible. And when they finally speak, it will not be halfway. It will not be vague. It will not sound like the guarded version of them you once knew. It will sound like someone who has spent too long holding in the truth. And what they reveal may explain every strange silence, every mixed signal, every unfinished moment between you. Because soon, the story they began speaking about behind closed doors may become the story they finally tell to your face. Sooner than expected, the distance between thought and action begins to collapse. That is where your person stands now. No longer in the stage of wondering. No longer in the stage of denying. No longer in the stage of pretending their feelings will simply fade if ignored. That season is over. What remains now is decision. And decisions made from the heart tend to arrive suddenly after long periods of silence. So do not mistake the quiet for inactivity. Some of the biggest shifts in life happen in silence first. Behind unread drafts. Behind restless nights. Behind private moments where someone stares into the dark and admits what they can no longer run from. That has been your person. Facing the truth. Facing the fact that every road they took to avoid these feelings somehow led them back to you. And now they understand. You were never just a chapter. You were never just timing. You were never just a lesson. You became the standard by which they unconsciously measure every connection after. And that realization has changed everything. Because once someone understands that what they found with you was rare, they stop treating it casually. They stop assuming it will always be there waiting. They begin to move with urgency. That urgency is building now. Each day stronger. Each memory louder. Each quiet moment more difficult to escape. Until finally, there comes a moment when a person reaches their limit. The moment when they realize, if I do not say something now, I may lose this forever. That realization creates boldness. And boldness creates movement. So if the energy around you has felt different, if life seems to be holding its breath, if your heart keeps sensing that something is approaching, pay attention. Because this may be the final calm before everything changes. Your person is closer than ever to crossing the line they once feared crossing. Closer than ever to speaking what they buried. Closer than ever to revealing that the conversation they had about you was only the beginning of their awakening. Because what started as one private discussion became a mirror they could no longer look away from. It forced them to see that their feelings are real, that their connection to you is unresolved, that their future keeps pulling them back toward your name. And once someone sees that clearly, they do not stay still for long. So when the message comes, when the call appears, when the unexpected words finally arrive, understand this. It will not be random. It will be the result of every thought they could not silence. Every feeling they could not replace. Every truth they finally accepted about what you mean to them. Because the person you love did talk to someone about you. And in doing so, they accidentally confessed more than they intended. They revealed a heart still tied to yours. A connection still alive beneath the surface. A future they are no longer sure they want to face without you in it. And now, the only thing left is for them to tell you themselves. When they do, you will understand why every delay happened. Why every silence mattered. Why nothing between you ever fully disappeared. Because some connections are not meant to vanish. They are meant to pause, transform, and return stronger than before. And yours may be approaching that return now. And when that return begins, it may happen in the smallest moment first. Not with fireworks. Not with dramatic warning. But with one unexpected sign that changes the atmosphere around everything. A message you were not expecting. A name appearing where there had only been silence. A conversation beginning in a way that feels almost ordinary. Yet beneath it, nothing is ordinary anymore. Because by the time your person reaches out, they will not be contacting you casually. They will be reaching across the distance that once felt impossible to cross. Think about what that means. Every fear they had to confront. Every doubt they had to silence. Every ounce of pride they had to lay down. Just to arrive at that moment. People do not make moves like that. Unless something inside them has changed profoundly. And your person has changed. The one who once hesitated is becoming someone willing to risk vulnerability. The one who once stayed guarded is becoming someone ready to be honest. The one who once thought silence was safer is learning that silence can cost more than truth ever could. That transformation matters. Because when someone evolves emotionally before returning, they do not come back the same. They come back clearer, wiser, more certain of what they feel. And that is the version of them moving toward you now. Not the confused version. Not the avoidant version. Not the version still trying to deny what this connection means. But the version that knows. Knows what they lost. Knows what they still feel. Knows what they want to say. And when certainty reaches the heart, hesitation has very little time left. This is why your path may feel strangely aligned lately. Why memories seem to surface more often. Why certain thoughts of them arrive out of nowhere. Why your intuition keeps whispering that something unfinished is nearing resolution. Because sometimes, before two paths reconnect in reality, they begin reconnecting in energy first. The shift starts unseen. Then suddenly, the visible world catches up. And when it does, everything can change in one conversation. One honest exchange. One vulnerable truth. One moment where both people stop pretending they were unaffected. That is the kind of moment drawing closer. The kind people remember for years. The kind that makes them look back and realize. The silence was never the end of the story. Only the space before the next chapter. So if you have wondered whether they still care, If you have questioned whether what you shared meant as much to them as it did to you. If you have doubted whether their heart ever truly moved on. Let this be your reminder. People do not speak about someone with emotion. Unless that person still lives in their heart. People do not confess hidden feelings in private. Unless those feelings have grown too heavy to carry alone. And people do not prepare to return. Unless some part of them believes the connection is worth fighting for. Your person believes that now. More than ever before. Because the truth they spoke in secret is becoming the truth they can no longer hide. And what happens next may be the moment both of you realize this connection was never truly lost. Only waiting for the right time to rise again.